Welcome to Empirical Animal Podcast Experiment. My name is Piotr Sel, and today's guest is Simon Grassi. When I met Simon, he was introduced to me as a film colorist, but later I found out that he had a whole past life as a professional football player. And only because of an unexpected turn in his athletic career that he started searching for a new path. And currently he's color grading feature films, music videos, and a whole range of other projects. In this conversation, we discuss how a grandfather's camera, philosophy, the Fountainhead, and a music video led Simon to where he is now. We talk about navigating change, maintaining a positive mindset, and shaping a life of creative freedom. So let's get started. All right,
let's dive right into it.
Let's begin. So Simon, pleasure to have you here on this experimental episode testing the possibilities offered by the internet, which in big part is the reason why I started this project, just to be able to connect with people who are generally super busy, super committed to their craft, and like you told me, you spent the last 6 months fully dedicated to becoming better colorist than ever. To begin with, can you tell me where currently you're based, where you're coming from, and a few words about the mysterious profession of a colorist?
Absolutely. So thank you so much for having me, and it's a pleasure. So I'm a digital colorist. I'm based in the south of France. I've been a digital colorist professionally for 5 years, coming on 5 years now.
So let's talk about your work as colorist, right? So what does it actually
While I work as a colorist, I'm responsible for giving the look of the project, to set the tones of where the director wants to go to tell the story. And I'm responsible for making sure that everybody's happy, the cinematographer is happy about the images that he produced, and that it coincides with the story that the director is trying to tell.
Yeah, I think it's good to give credit to Global Entertainment Awards, where we've met, where the idea of these awards is to actually bring to light those professionals who most of the time are not visible, and I think that for people who are not involved with the film industry, the role of colorist is something so abstract they probably couldn't even imagine, and this is the part of the making process of films or in video productions, which is harder to notice if you don't know what you're looking for. You will definitely experience it. You will feel the difference that the color grade makes. Maybe we could touch on this. How have you developed the sensibility to actually see the colors?
Developing my eye for colors took years and years, like understanding what a cinematographer wanted, what made a good image, and to be able to train your eye in terms of, okay, what do I like, because I'm also an artist just as much as a cinematographer, just as much as a director. And I think being able to convey my art and mixing in the cinematographer's intent with what he wanted on set, communication was a big key, and developing my eye, I trained it by watching a lot of films, by figuring out what made a good image. And once I developed the understanding about what a technically good image is supposed to be, even though a lot of people like to say the image is subjective, there is a science to crafting desirable images. And I think once I figured out what that was and what I liked in images, it became a lot easier for me to be able to craft what I think is a good image.
For me, a big surprise was back in Portugal last month, seeing how strongly you're involved on set. That was something that I absolutely wasn't aware. I thought that the colorist is 100% working offline in post. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, so I mean, when it comes to touching back on understanding what makes a good image, I did a lot of research, not just in color grading itself, but also in cinematography. So understanding exposure, because I get a bunch of video clips from people shooting various cameras, and when I first started, I had no idea that there was like an intent behind lighting and all that type of stuff. So I basically had to train my brain to say, okay, I am a colorist, but I have to understand the intent of what a cinematographer wants the image to look like. So basically, I had to train myself to think like a cinematographer in terms of the intent behind the exposure, in order for me to like take that information in and then be able to relay that. Because I think it's a lot easier when a colorist has the information as to what's going on technically with this image, like what are the capabilities, where's the limit, and then I think being able to understand that technically from a cinematographer standpoint does help me in that sense. So when it comes to the Global Entertainment Awards, when I'm on set talking to the DPs or the camera operators, it's a lot easier for me to convey what I might need in post, because I know what's required out on production.
I know that you're quite active with music videos. Yeah. How is it different to work on projects of different nature, or perhaps long form films, documentaries?
Yeah, so I mean, I work on a wide variety. You touched on music videos. I work on feature films, documentaries, commercials, and projects like music videos. Sometimes when it's outside and there's not a big budget, I have to be able to deal with different lighting scenarios. So I mean, it is a challenge sometimes, and I have to like assess what's going on, technically with the image, and I have to relay that information back to the director and make sure that there's an understanding that, hey, we might be limited in this aspect due to the limits of the actual image that you're providing me. So and when it comes to feature films, depending on the budgets, of course, sometimes the cinematographers and the budget allows them to have like perfect lighting scenarios. So that just makes my dream my job a dream to work on. Same thing with documentaries, essentially. I mean, depending on the budgets, not all the time you're not gonna have perfect lighting scenarios all the time where you can control the light. I just have to deal with that in post, but I also have to be as real as possible. Like, hey, listen, like if this is the type of look that you're trying to go for, sometimes it's not possible. Like I do try everything, that I know to possibly get the looks for the intent of the project. The dream for me is basically, perfect lighting conditions. That makes my life easy. Working with talented DPs that are able to navigate through those difficult situations. Sometimes they'll wait 5 minutes. Sometimes they'll, wait 10 minutes to get that perfect lighting condition. But sometimes they don't, and it is what it is. I have to deal with that. But that's part of the job.
And is it regular for you to travel on set? Because I guess these productions, they happen in different parts of the world.
I don't travel that often. I travel maybe a few times a year for work, and it just depends on the type of projects. So I was supposed to have a feature film lined up in London, spend a month over there, and hopefully that's still happening. You never know in the industry what might happen. So,
how much in the decision of becoming a colorist was the possibility of working remotely? Because obviously, you have now the flexibility to move anywhere if you wish so. So was that something that motivated this decision? Having the opportunity to live like a nomad, move every now and then.
Yeah, I mean,
one place to another.
I think color grading is kind of like a consequence, like the being able to work remotely is a consequence of why I did end up moving, specifically because my girlfriend had let me know at the time, oh yeah, I'd like to move to France, and I just basically said, well, you know what, I'm really interested in this thing that's, color grading. And I just said, you know what, I can do this pretty much anywhere in the world. Let me try it and see how that works. And then just made it work. And now I get to work, essentially wherever I want in the world. As long as I have fiber internet, that really helps. As long as I have my grading suite, I can basically work from anywhere in the world.
So perhaps this is a good point to kind of bring the backstory, which I heard from you a year ago, and still find it really inspiring. What was your line of work before the color grading, and what was the series of events that actually brought you on this path? I think picking a camera, starting filming is kind of obvious, right? Every kid knows what a camera does. But color grading is, it's a little bit more mysterious, right? And you actually have to know something about the industry and the professional workflow to be aware that it exists. So how did it start?
Yeah, so when I was 18 or 19, I was playing football, not American football, like real football, and I had the opportunity to move to Czech Republic. And I signed my first contract immediately when I got there. And I spent, 4 or 5 years playing football in Europe, all over. I mean, I played in Turkey, Czech Republic, and I ended up in Sweden, where in 2017, I had to stop playing because I had an issue in my foot that later got diagnosed to be a tumor. And essentially what ended up happening was I was no longer able to play football anymore. I gained a bunch of weight because I got to the point where I wasn't able to walk anymore. When I got back home, sometimes when I'd have to go shopping, like Christmas shopping, for example, my friends would roll me around in a wheelchair because, the pain was ridiculous. And they had diagnosed it, I think it was about 8 months after I had been back home. And after that, I had to get a regular job. Still had to pay the bills. So I got a job in logistics, fantastic company, great people. And my mindset was basically just, I'm stuck here. I'm stuck here. This is going to be my job because, all I knew up until that point was just, a ball by my foot, just playing the sport I loved, since I was literally a baby. And so I just said, okay, you know what? Let me just be like the best freight forwarder, like a freight operator that there could be. And once I set that in stone, I did everything. I learned the entire industry, and I excelled. It was a very difficult transition, though, mentally for me, simply just because all I knew was the footballing aspect of my entire life. But life moves on, and in 2019, my parents started to do renovations in the home. I picked up a box, and my friend saw my grandfather's old camera collection. And when he saw that, he saw like one of the cameras it was like a Voigtlander from like the 60s. And he was like, this is such a cool vintage camera. Let's take this. My friend was really into photography at the time. So he took the camera. He's like, let's wake up early on the morning on Saturday and let's go and shoot. I said, okay, let's do it. I had never done that before prior to that. So I said, you know what, let's do it. I really fell in love with like just waking up early in the morning, grinding, just taking pictures. And I really fell in love with that process. And after a couple of months, I told myself, you know what, let's buy my own digital camera, because my friend had a Nikon at the time. So I was always using his camera. I was always like fascinated by it. So I decided, okay, let's pull the trigger on this. And I bought my very first Sony, I believe it was an A6500 at the time, with a couple of lenses. I decked myself out in the gear because, I'm even to this day, I'm a big tech head. So love the tech.
I can tell.
Yeah, love the tech. So I bought all the equipment, and I really fell in love with like taking photos and like coming back home and editing them. And it got to the point where I had one of my friends reach out to me, and I told him, I was like, yeah, you know what? Like I'm down to like shoot some videos. So I was like playing around with like the video settings, and I did like some research on it. And eventually I just asked him, I'm like, you know what? You're an artist, you have music. Let's do like a music video. I'll shoot it for free. I don't really know what I'm doing. So, you'll be my guinea pig. I shot a music video. We shot on Friday. By Sunday, I had like a finished music video, and I was like, wow, this is just like the greatest thing. I thought in my head, I'm thinking I'm like Roger Deakins, you know, like this is just like the greatest thing in the world. And eventually my friend went back home. I sent him the project, and I decided to go on YouTube, and I was watching like just a bunch of music videos, and I found a Bruno Mars music video, and I said, you know what? Let me compare mine to Bruno Mars's music video. So I put them side by side, and you know, as the music video is going through, I'm just like, wow, this is just so crap what I just produced. So it led me down to, you know, I was like, why doesn't my music video look like Bruno Mars? So I went on Google and I typed exactly that. Why doesn't my music video look like a Bruno Mars video? And it gave me a whole list of like, you know, like the camera, like, is it lighting? Is it like the crew? Like, do you know what you're doing? And at the very bottom of the list, I see color grading. And I was like, okay, I mean, before that, I had done like a bunch of research on like, you know, what's required to like shoot a music video. And I never saw color grading before. So I did like the whole deep dive into color grading, and I basically figured out, okay, so it's basically everything I love about photo editing, but for videos. I was like, okay, let me, you know, take a stab at this. I have a project, you know, that I just shot. Let me see what I can do with this. And as you would expect, it looked horrendous. I didn't know what I was doing, but I loved the actual process of, you know, doing it. So naturally, I looked for people to basically give me footage and work on their footage. And throughout like all of 2020, I just joined a bunch of Facebook groups to, you know, ask people like, hey, like if you're a Sony user, if you're a Nikon user, if you're a Canon user, if you have footage, let me know if you have footage that you can send me. I would love to just like practice with, you know, your footage. And if you have a music video, you know, let me know, because all I knew was music videos, you know, I didn't know what that, you know, what the world of you know, videography or cinematography was at that time. I just knew people shot music videos, and that's basically where I came from it.
I absolutely love the story, and I think that music videos are the entry point for many of us. Right? For me, it was even more remotely connected because those were animations. I used to be an illustrator, so I figured out through working on some storyboards that actually, like, you know, there is a connection. It's like I'm doing this comic book style of thing, and maybe, you know, this is the way that I can transition to moving image. And do you like have some sort of sentiment specifically for music videos, or at this point it's you know, at the different stage of your career, and you're not favoring any specific project?
Yeah, so I mean, I don't necessarily favor any one thing. What I do really appreciate is working with really talented people and working on beautiful images. So like that's kind of like where I'm at now. I mean, obviously I love music videos when, you know, there's a real budget behind it, or like the intent of the cinematographer was to create something like really cool that I can get really creative with. That's what like really inspires me and what I'm really passionate about. I think every colorist is just like, you know, I think that's like the default for colorists, you know, just work with really talented cinematographers and like create like the coolest looks that you can. I think like that's just like the default, but you know, I'm really passionate about beautiful images, and I can talk about this all day, every day.
That's why we're here. That's what we're here for. By the way, I have a prop back to the conversation. So this is my granddad's camera. I don't know if you keep yours. So this one is a what's called Pentacon Practica from the 50s. However, my story was quite different. So it's like I, you know, wasn't so much inspired by discovering. It's more like in recent years, I felt just nostalgic and reminded myself that my granddad was doing photography as well. What actually makes the material that you receive pleasant to work? You know, obviously it's like if it's like a crap camera, like consumer level, you have less latitude to work with. But is there, for instance, a sense of satisfaction if you receive material that perhaps you can connect with the project, and your input can actually elevate it, give it a professional feel that perhaps without that it would just look too basic?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, lighting is everything in the world of film, of commercials, of anything to do with a camera. I mean, the camera requires light to hit the sensor. If you don't know how to light, you're gonna get a crap image. If you know how to light, you're gonna get a beautiful image. The most fundamental is really just, if you know how to light, you're gonna be able to craft and tell stories with light. And I think that's like the starting point for, anything to do with cinematography and videography in general. So yeah, it's just a pleasure to speak to cinematographers and gaffers when they know how to manipulate light, how to craft stories with light. And when I see, the first thing I love to do is just crack open DaVinci, import the clips into DaVinci, and be able to see just a beautiful, well-lit scene. The satisfaction level is just immense when I see a beautiful image that's properly lit, properly exposed. It's what I love to see.
So that would be advice for young aspiring filmmakers, to pay more attention to light rather than exclusively cameras and lenses.
Absolutely. I mean, there's videos. Granted, like these people who do work with iPhones, iPhone cinematography, the budgets are like really good. So, putting that aside, you can make any sensor look good. You just have to know how to light it. Essentially, that's so. Yeah, if you're a cinematographer, learn lighting. That's it. I mean, learn how to not that's it, but like learn how to light, and then be able to tell stories, and then you'll have a complete a more complete understanding of the tool. Essentially, understanding the tool that you're using. The tool requires light, so as an aspect of being able to use the tool has to have an understanding of light. And yeah, if you're a cinematographer, learn lighting for sure.
We haven't spoken this year about the color grading course that you were working on the last year. So where are you with that project?
Oh yeah, so I mean, with my course, I had to kind of put that on pause because I fell into another rabbit hole of film emulation. Yeah, so I've been working. I spent the last 9 months now on just learning everything there could be to film and the history of film, how it's made, like what makes film, just like that, like the go-to when it comes to color grading. I mean, like if you speak to a lot of colorists, I mean, I know, like, we want to make it look like film, like that film emulation type of look. And I'm going to be coming out with a high quality film emulation LUT. It's high quality to me. I'm the one that's producing it. So, but it is going to be very, very, very good. And I'm really excited to be announcing this. It should be coming out in about April or May. Yeah, and then in terms of the course, I've been trying to record a course for the last year. I had to put that on pause to pursue the actual understanding of the film, because I mean, it was just taking up way too much of my time. I mean, this was a rabbit hole that I went down, understanding film, and I mean, there's just so much information on that. And then having to learn other programs like Nuke, to be able to develop the LUTs. So yeah, the course, basically, I took a pause on that. I believe it was last August, and I'm going to be resuming recording again in August. And hopefully by the end of the year, I'll be able to, release the course and, provide as much value as I can for anybody who has questions or is interested in color grading. I mean, they can, take the course, save them years and years of questions that they might have. Because I know I had a lot of them, and it took me a long time to come to where I am today. So hopefully, there's a short track to all of that, and hopefully I can provide that for anybody who's curious.
do I remember correctly that the idea first came from having repetitively the same conversations with the crew on set? And so is that the course is not exclusively intended for colorists, but also for people from the industry who just want to have better understanding so that they can do their part in a way that is more friendly in the post-production
Yeah,
stage.
absolutely. I mean, I think it goes hand in hand. Just as much as I had to understand like the cinematography aspect and the intent behind the exposure that I have to essentially manipulate, I think it's just as important for cinematographers to have, you don't have to have a deep dive understanding of color grading itself and how to balance images and how to develop those looks. But I think it is important for cinematographers to have a basic understanding of what's happening in post and what's possible, so that they can keep that in mind when they're on set and in production, so that they understand, okay, once I send this off, what's the limit, so that they can maximize the potential of having better looks themselves for their own work.
What you were saying about the celluloid film look being preferred, we could say that partly it's because for so many years, right, the history of cinematography like that was the medium that it was developed. So in many ways, this is the what we're used to see, right? So there will be like a learned preference towards these images. How can this be quantified? Because obviously there's a lot of science in color grading, but as you said, this is an art, right? So it's not exclusively about keeping the exposures or the numbers correct in the right range, but how the artistry expresses itself.
Digital is a new format in the sense that film has been a process that's been developed over like the last 100 years, right? So I mean, they really know and are able to repeat those results on a consistent basis. So there's a reason why we do like film, and it's because of like how the skin tones are rendered, and it's really a science that was perfected for the last 100 years. Fuji, Kodak, and I don't think people want to just throw the baby out with the bathwater, so to speak. So I think there's like that we're in a transition where like digital is like the dominant format today, but I think that there's like a real trend. We're on an upswing of like understanding film a lot better. Thanks to Steve Yedlin. I mean, like basically all my work has been inspired by him as a cinematographer, as a I don't know if I can call him a color scientist, but I mean, his understanding of digital cinema cameras and film is next level, and it's really a pleasure to listen to his listen to his mind at work on the technical aspects of cameras themselves and the film itself. So it's really cool to see him pioneer that sort of creative endeavor that people want to be able to emulate film.
So could you please name some of his works? Because I have to admit that I'm completely ignorant. I never heard his name.
Yeah. So Steve Yedlin's work consists of Star Wars, The Last Jedi, Knives Out, Glass Onion. I believe he was on the first one as well. And his work, you can see that there's an aspect of a film-like essence to Knives Out, Glass Onion, and even the original Knives Out movie. And I believe there's a new one coming out this year or next year, and I'm really looking forward to watching that as well.
And tell me, and how much currently, with all the knowledge you get about color grading, is it like enhancing or perhaps interfering with your experience of cinema? So you're in a theater, you're watching a movie, and our thoughts of the sort that I'll do that differently, like that could be done better, or you just allow yourself to switch off the professional side of you and just enjoy the movie. How is it for you?
Oh, I mean, it's almost impossible at this point. All I'm doing while I'm watching movies is basically just analyzing like what they did, and I get to just appreciate the amount of work that goes on behind these like huge movies, and even like the small indie films. And you know, I really do just appreciate the amount of work that goes into each one of these films. And watching watching a movie is like basically like learning for me at this point. Like I really do just appreciate each film, and especially when it's done, by like the biggest companies. You have Company 3, and you have like Steven Sonnenfeld, like all of his movies, and Jill Bogdanowicz on like The Joker, and like really pushing the limits on look development. I mean, it's really like truly an inspiration that anybody can look up to and be able to say like, yeah, I want to be able to chase that and be able to hopefully get there one day. It really is something to watching movies. It's impossible for me to shut off my brain. It's impossible. I really just look at each scene, each like, oh, what did they do here? How did they achieve this? Like from whether from a color grading aspect or even a cinematography aspect. Sometimes they have like these wide shots, and I'm like, how did they even light this? Like I'm even thinking about like, how did the gaffers do this? How did they like communicate? Like how soft the image is or how harsh the light is. Like the creative intent behind telling that story. It's just so impressive. And yeah, it's just impossible for me to shut off my brain when I watch movies. It's so impressive.
Well, I think it's a great sign that you're doing the thing that you love. So let's touch on the communication element. So as we've spoken before we hit recording, like for me, the podcast is the vehicle to kind of enhance my communication skills, also to get my points across. So do you mind telling how and why you've been sort of investing in enhancing your communication?
Yeah, so I basically after coming back from Europe and playing soccer, I figured that there has to be more to life than just like what was going on in my head. And to some degree, I was in search of like a meaning, like some sort of like purpose for like my life. I really just did accept that like I got this 9 to 5 job, and this is just what it's gonna be, till like I'm 65 and I retire. And like that was really like what was going on in my head. And eventually, one of my friends introduced me to like some podcasts, and it got me really like it got my mind going. I kind of like shut off my mind to like the rest of the world, in the sense that like I have this 9 to 5. I go like a couple of nights a week. I go and play football, and like that's just my life, and I had really just accepted that, until like my friend introduced me to like podcasts, and yeah, you should like listen to this guy. You should listen to that. You should like open your mind, broaden your horizon a bit. So I got interested in like the world of ideas, and essentially I got into philosophy, and it was really like a cornerstone in my life, and like the importance of ideas. And I had no like real outlet to like be able to like articulate the ideas. I mean, I was listening to podcasts all the time. I had like my own ideas in a sense, but like I was never really able to like articulate them properly. I mean, I could listen to podcasts all day, but then to like go out and speak to people and be able to, it wasn't like a skill that I had. I mean, I was just not good. I mean, even when I was in high school, I remember completely freezing when I tried to be in like the student council, and I had to go up and convince people, hey, you should vote for me to be in student council. I remember being up on stage, had the microphone in front of me, and I just freeze, or I'd be speaking way too quickly. Nobody was able to understand me, and I was just really, really bad at just like speaking to people in general, to be honest. I had newfound ideas through philosophy, and I had no outlet to be able to practice or articulate these ideas. And in 2020 or 2021, I remember Clubhouse. It was an audio app that basically you can just join rooms that have like specific topics. It could be like politics, it can be art, it could be film, and there's a vast array of different topics that you can just join a room, go on stage, and like just speak to people about these topics. And I found an outlet to basically just to practice, to be able to articulate the ideas that I would hold, because what's an idea if you're just like in an echo chamber, right? Like I wanted to like test out these ideas, and I wanted to be able to see, like, does this hold true, right? And I think like it's a healthy aspect of looking at the world, being able to say, okay, you know what, I have this idea, let me test this out in the real world, and if it holds, then it holds, and if it doesn't, then we're gonna have to reassess what I believe in, essentially. And so it was a very, very helpful tool that I used to be able to learn about philosophy, and then go out and test the ideas and see, okay, well, if I respond with this, what does this person say? And then I have to say, okay, well, like, does that actually make logical sense? Does if I say this, that person says this, does that contradict what I believe? And it was a fantastic tool. I found that it really, really helped me be able to have a good understanding about my ideas, because sometimes they'd raise a point that I didn't even think of, and then I'd go and like reassess, and then it's like, okay, actually, no, I think like this was a good idea, but just being able to not articulate it made it harder for me to navigate that conversation. If that conversation comes up again, I'll be able to have a better understanding of what I was trying to articulate, but now I have a full concrete of what I'm trying to say. So it was a Clubhouse was a great tool for me to be able to understand ideas, to articulate ideas, and then to be able to adopt and move according to those ideas.
Well, I perfectly understand what you're saying, because it's like with loads of reading, you might get an idea, all the books you can consume, and you have a feeling that you understand everything. But then when it comes actually to summarize it, explain it to someone else, then you're helpless, and it's definitely an important passage. Just to summarize, so you found yourself in this kind of difficult point in life that philosophy helped you navigate through.
Yeah.
And I couldn't agree enough that we kind of need to broaden, expand, deepen the worldview that we have, and definitely seeking for something more is as a part of life, right? Life not examined is not worth living, they say. Kind of hard truth, but to a degree I definitely subscribe to that. And can I ask you to actually point to some clear kind of school of thoughts? So you recommended me the first time we met Ayn Rand, Introduction to Objectivist Epistemology, telling me something like, you look like a guy who's into the consciousness and stuff. and that could be a good read for you. So I have the book. I on such a massive backlog with all the books that I've collected that I just stopped buying them, and this one is waiting for the right moment. But can I ask you to kind of give some key points of your sort of life philosophy, and naming the sources where you kind of found the inspiration?
So the Fountainhead is one of the books that resonated with me the most. It's really an inspiring book for me. It really truly put into perspective how I wanted to move throughout the world. Like, I was always like very entrepreneurial when I was a kid. Like, even in high school, like my father owned a business, and I was able to like sell a bunch of T-shirts and hoodies to people with like different brands on it, or different musicians or artists, and that's how I pretty much made money throughout high school. And and I kind of lost that ambition when I came back from Europe, and I got, a regular job, and this book really put into perspective. It's like, no, like there really is like no limit to like what you can pursue. Like, make sure that you pursue the values that you want, but guided through a method that's consistent with the values that you want to pursue. So, that book really put into perspective a lot. And after reading that, I basically just picked up like all the books that I could, because I was really, really inspired by that book. And I picked up Atlas Shrugged, and I was like, okay, this is just like describing the world that I like basically see now. And I was really like just blown away by that. And then I just started picking up the more philosophical books, and then trying to understand like what perspective, like where does this perspective come from, that was like that these books are trying to explain. And I mean, this is the whole world of ideas that like you read Atlas Shrugged, and it was kind of like a slap in the face to me. It was like wake up, in a sense. It's like this could happen. This is the reality that could be. And it's basically Atlas Shrugged is just a dystopian novel. I read Atlas Shrugged, and it just blew my mind, basically.
To add a note on Fountainhead, I read it good couple years ago, and because I studied architecture like that, there was that kind of hit the note. And I can't recall the names of the characters, but the leading one, the non-conformist, who is basically laughing in the face of being expelled from school by being non-subordinate in terms of like the designs that he was producing. If you can decide, then who can decide for you, right? So I think that's a great piece of advice, that you basically have to learn how to trust yourself and actually know what you want from life. And you're a brilliant example of someone who's really making these decisions and facing adversities with positivity, as they like to say here in UK.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
And tell me, and are you now in the point where you're still expanding in that direction, or you kind of did your homework and right now you're applying what you've learned and just shaping your personal reality, your life, your career, to match your vision?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, I definitely consider myself a student of Objectivism. I mean, it really the whole philosophy really resonates with me. I'm always learning. I read the books from time to time. I'm actually rereading the Objectivist Epistemology lately. I've really been I've actually been discussing a lot about epistemology with some people lately. But I mean, like I said, the last 8 months, I really just had to put everything aside because of the amount of work that I've had, especially with the deep rabbit holes that I've gone into. But no, I mean, philosophy has really been like the last 6 years. I listen to podcasts like pretty much every day, whether it's I listen to Objectivists speak. I'm subscribed to some of their subscriptions on the websites to hear the Objectivist news, whatever it might be. I'm active. It's just the actual learning. Like I mean, I'm not a student, right? I mean, I'm a student in the sense of I'll always be learning the philosophy itself, because I think it just rings true with me. But in terms of am I reading books every day? I can't at the moment, just because of the amount of work. But it's always I've done my research. I've studied, and I've been trying to apply the principles of the philosophy into my life, and I think it's helped me tremendously throughout the last 6 years of my life. I mean, it's shaped the way I look at the world. it's extremely beneficial for me.
Well, I can tell, because you're super committed to the vision that you're kind of putting, materializing right in your life, right? So that's something, a quality to look up to, and heads off for that.
Thank you. I mean, even the podcast, right? I mean, it's the empirical animal, right? So, I mean, empiricism is an epistemology. Is that reference to empiricism at all, or?
So to be honest, where it comes from is that this was supposed to be my band's name, and where it comes from is actually some misinterpreted lyrics from some song that I cannot even point to anymore. So I had just this strange phrase ringing in my head for years, and I thought, well, I mean, kind of sounds weird enough to use it as a band name. And then band never happened. In the meantime, I started making videos, and then I thought, it's like, well, actually, this empirical component, it's like exploring, experiencing things. Because for me, filmmaking came at the point where I got really fed up with just the excess of time spent in front of the computer. So I guess quite contrary to your story, where you were from an athlete you moved to work in the digital realm. For me it started really being heavy, being so disconnected from reality, and I just had to bring a change that would allow me to have the work be actually a vehicle for interacting with other people. And the filmmaking, documentary filmmaking, the podcasting right now is just a perfect tool, while I'm still obviously enjoying all the benefits of technology that I've always been a fan of. So
fantastic.
But anyway, like with the empirical component, I guess I'm slightly misusing the term. But anyway, it's
great.
If it raises conversation, I'm happy to respond. To that. And just a quick one, like, how do you find now life in Europe, southern France, compared to Montreal?
Yeah, it's gonna be about 4 years in. It's gonna be 4 years in July, so I've been here quite a while. I mean, Montreal is where I grew up. It's a fantastic city. I've traveled all over the world. I mean, I really think Montreal is a special city in that sense. But I hate the winter, like just despise winters. So, where I live now, no winters, no snow. The Mediterranean is 15 minutes away. So it just doesn't get better than that.
And what's coming next for you? What can we expect? Obviously, you mentioned the lot coming soon, the course. Anything you'd like to touch on as a kind of closing statement?
I mean, closing statement. I mean, if you're a cinematographer or aspiring colorist and you have questions, I love talking with people. I love networking. So just hit me up. I love talking shop. I'm constantly in meetings all the time with just new people across the world. I mean, I was talking to a guy in Toronto yesterday. Just hit me up. Let's talk shop. Hit me up.
Okay, brilliant. So Simon, thank you. It's been really inspiring one. And I think successful experiment for me, seeing that these things can be done remotely.
Perfect. Well,
and
thank you for having me.
Yeah, and speak soon. I mean, I hope we can do it again at some point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is super fun. Love it.
That was Simon Grassi on Empirical Animal Podcast Experiment. The link to his website is below if you'd like to find out more about his work, and follow his Instagram page for updates on his film Emulation lot and the future color grading course. Thanks for listening, and see you in the next episode.